Hey guys, it's Sam and Kenny, your Art Sherpa, and we're back to finally finish this painting. Yes, this is the last session. Anyone who does it is like super my hero because it's certainly been a journey for me to get through it. John's been really supporting me through the whole process. He's gonna be tracking me with all the cameras today so I can finish her up.
Hey guys.
I'm ready for this to be done. But actually, she's starting to look really good, and I'm feeling kind of positive and optimistic about her. And I think what I'll find is after this, I'll be much more unblocked for the rest of the projects. So everyone sent a lot of light and love to John because he really kept me going through all my self-questioning experiences that I was having during this painting.
I don't
To
know about. I think it was just sort of a natural big project challenge.
You know what? There were just so many things about this project that were tough for me. The color palette was really challenging for me. The composition, you would think it was very easy, but it just broke my brain in a couple places. And I was going through a lot of stuff like emotionally and work wise and family wise. And sometimes those things affect our creative process. That's not really the same thing as just creative block, but we can be blocked creatively in the middle of a lot of stuff that's happening in our lives. So I'm so excited to be coming to the end. Painting skills don't fail me now. Let's finish this girl up. All right. So I'm going to mix up really what we've got is her skin tones and some hair and a little bit of jewelry, and we're good. So that's super duper exciting to me just in general. Like I'm really pumped about this. Let's get right on into painting her. I'm going to be using some smaller tools, and I'll definitely be using a little mixing knife, a little artist knife to get my skin colors are going, which is going to be that basic sort of yellow ochre. Let's tell you the colors today, if you guys would like to know. Zinc white, titanium white, phthalo blue, Indian yellow, cad yellow, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, quinacridone magenta, Mars black, and of course the iridescent fine gold to finish her off. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this, and I'm mixing together a very kind of pink color with this warm yellow. That's going to be the basis of the skin tone that I'm going to be using today. And I want to add in my colors a little bit carefully so that while I get there in a nice slow fashion. And the other thing about doing this in this big kind of group is that when I go to paint her, I'll have enough skin tone and I won't have to be constantly remixing the formula. I know I advocate for that a lot, but it is helpful in the journey. Now I'm going to take just the pigment I even have on this knife, and I'm going to start working this into my white so I can really see where the skin tone is sitting. All right, that's a lot of times white, titanium white especially, sort of really reveals the bias of a paint or a mix. And so it's, besides lightening, it has that wonderful, valuable, get a little more alizarin just into that. I'm getting that all in there. Look at me mix. John says I spend a lot of time mixing paint.
I don't know.
Which is true. I do spend a lot of time just mixing paint. And that's pretty nice. From here, I can easily sort of darken her skin tone or lighten her skin tone, yellow her skin tone. Everything will come pretty easily to me and help me finish her out fairly quickly. Let's hope. I'm going to grab one of my smaller brushes. This is a number 2 Filbert, and it's just going to allow me to do some of her bigger areas of skin tone where I need to get a little more coverage in there and maybe lighten up some values. Like she's got quite a light space around her shoulder. Didn't you just clean these glasses for me?
I did.
I misted them. No, they're all like foggy and unseeable. I have glasses to help me see. It's very important to be able to see when you're painting. Lots of great artists though had a vision at the end. Monet. Phew. Madame Mobile Monet. I don't have that in my head. I am, however, going to enjoy my creative process as much as any artist who has ever lived at any point. That is the plan. Okay. Now that I can see, oh, look at that. It's a skin tone and it's coming right on there. And we're going to be able to start to really, really get her in. So I'm coming in with the second coat. A lot of the painting, she was like, a lot of the background was really showing through, and it just wasn't where I was really hoping it would be. I'm going to blend here at the hand just a little bit, as you do. And I may even come and work this color here. And you can see there's like a lot of blue that was happening right there. I'm still going to come back and put in my dark values, but having just a little bit of finishing work on her skin tones is going to be something I'm super duper glad I did. Now I can darken the skin tone even with a little bit of my burnt sienna, and I can use either blue or black. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and get a smidge of black to deepen the skin tone to create the shadow. Hopefully at this point, if you look in the description, there's a link to a book of 400 or so skin tone recipes, and it'll give you a sense of how these are constructed and a lot of ideas of how you can get different skin tones for people. Even a little more here. Let's really get this in shadow. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a minute to get it deep. You got to go deep. And you want to blend too. You want to have a soft transition a little bit where these areas are kind of round. Even here, you're going to want as soft of a transition as possible. And you may need to half tone the painting as you go. I'm working very tight in my hand, which I can feel. John, my hand be tight.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
That's it. I'm getting too far up on the brush. And my tension is translating through my brush in, actually probably into the painting too.
Tension into the painting.
Sometimes it be happening. I'm just trying to create those shadows. I'll go ahead and get my brush wet, and I'm going to take a clean brush and make sure that I'm going to come here, and if you're noticing, I'm softening those lines. This is working because they are still wet, and so that method will be pretty effective. I might go ahead and grab a little bit of the blue into this. I want to create a hard line between the fabric here. I'm going to do the rinse trick again. This is going to be just the shadow that we're seeing between the fabric and her. And you can see I'm using the bristles of the brush here to softly take that line in so it's visible, but it's not so overpowering. And we can definitely show this shadow right here. Again, you just saw me wipe with the towel, and I'm doing that similar thing. This is another way to get a softer transition. So many strategies and methods to get softer transitions. Don't turn your nose up at any of them. You never know where you're going to need one. I'm going to definitely get some water into my brush here to improve that flow. A little bit more of my blue and my black. It's kind of tripping me out that I'm hearing keyboard stuff going on because we're not live. And I almost just asked John, so what are they saying today? They're saying, this lady took a long time for this year's quest. Who does she think she is? I don't even know anymore. So you can see by cooling that value down, that creates some more spaces that, I can work with. The next thing I'm going to do, interestingly enough, is I'm going to put some light on the piece. And so I'm going to get a little bit of my Indian yellow in here. And you can see I've warmed that up as with the Indian yellow. And I'm going to get a lot of white. It's quite a light value. I'm going to come here up over the shoulder and softly, softly pull this in. A lot of artists like Filbert's, whenever they're working people, because the Filbert will allow you to do some of these softer blends. You can see I'm just popping some highlight where it might be on the figure. I'm going to rinse out and do that blending trick again. Just make sure that if you're doing this, that your brush is not, it's damp but not wet. The wet will undermine this process and underbind the paint. So damp but not wet. And you'll have to work fast enough to, be able to blend it softly. Blending it softly.
This really adds a lot of that sun highlight.
Yeah, we're just trying to get a little bit of that sun on her to say, oh, she caught some light. There's some stuff happening here. And she's really in this space. It's a fun, nice thing to do. Now, I really enjoyed her face. I've got to get her eyebrows in. I have a little work left to do in her eye, just a smidge. And then I am going to get this hair in, maybe finish out this conch a bit. So on the conch, on my conch shell, which is such a fun color, I'm going to take a little bit of my alizarin and my quinacridone, maybe my yellow ochre. I'm going to make this sort of very warm orange. And that'll be my base to give everything that sort of pinkish value. There we go. I just want to cast that into everything, whether I lighten it or darken it. I just want that cast in there. And I'll come in here and I will try to make sure that I get this really considered out. You're such a weird little shell. My dad had one of these. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video to call me home.
I remember you talking about that a lot.
Well, it really stuck with me because other kids, not called home with a conch shell. Nope. That was a unique to my family activity.
I mean, I don't have a conch shell, but I have a bugle. And I would use it.
That's true. And you could call at me with the bugle. I don't know how I'd feel about it, but you could do it.
Maybe not you, but, our children.
I'm going to add a little of my white to that.
I could harm our children, generationally speaking, by calling them home with a bugle.
I mean, we have one millennial. She's already harmed enough just by being a millennial, right? She's laughing in the background.
You're just going to pick a fight with a whole new generation of people.
Actually, I adore millennials, and John knows that.
I do, but it's just...
But I think they get picked on excessively. I really do. I think that they get a bunch of grief for stuff that actually they don't do and isn't their fault.
I think that generally speaking, if you speak about a large group of people, they generally get upset, generally speaking. Because no one likes to be generalized, generally speaking.
Well, and in this particular case, I think it's a little bit unfair. Like, I don't think that millennials have had the same challenges that the generations before them had. I do think that they face a different set of challenges, and they're having to work out some stuff that no one has had to work out like that before. I'm going to get a little of my cad yellow in here. Just saying, because I have skin in the game. My daughter is one. My eldest. The other two are that new one, though.
Alpha.
I don't even know what that's going to mean. I'm sure some news program will try to sum it up in a succinct way to tell us what they think that means. All right, I'm going to get a little of my white into this. I'm going to just be lightening up these values. Just to show that there's these areas where it is lighter. Maybe even one shade lighter. Kind of see I put that at the tip. Maybe along that edge. And some right here. Just trying to create a little shading to her shell. We got to shade the shell. Let's get into some small detail brushes now. I picked a fight. I don't know, John says with somebody.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I mean, it's probably true. I'll find out soon enough, right? It's not like it'll be secretive for long. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna. And I definitely will get some of my yellow ochre into it because we're talking about our little eyebrows. Maybe a smidge of my black. You kind of see all those little colors there. I'm going to rinse out and wipe off. Always wipe off your detail brushes after you rinse out because there's a drop that will hide up them. And then you'll go down and just drop all over your painting. It's super annoying. Now, she's going to look a lot different the minute I give her an eyebrow. I mean, we learned this with Jon Snow, but it's still really relative and true. Generally, I like to make a nice curve. I try to line up with the nostrils here into the outer eye. And I'm going to lightly brush out. And this could just be because I have to draw my eyebrows in every day. This doesn't really overwhelm me that much because I've been drawing my eyebrows in my whole life. I'm going to do some subtractive work there. Let's load up again. This is a number 1 round. I think it's super important to have good detail brushes in your kit. I tried to make the best ones I could, but even if you don't have mine, just make sure you've got a little collection of these very detailed brushes that you can get some access to. All right, so we have that there. But we're going to get tricky. We're going to get a little Indian yellow on there and some white. I'm going to come here and also add maybe some of these values. See, I'm just blending them out a bit. I also felt like her eye wasn't really done, so I'm going to take some yellow and a little bit of my phthalo blue. I'm going to make this bright green value with the yellow. And I'm going to get a lot of white into it. Because I want this to be like a color from the ocean. You know what I'm saying, John? I'm going to come in here and give a little highlight to a little part of the eye. It's going to be challenging. I just lost some of her pupil there. And so sometimes this detail work is a little bit harder and more frustrating than you might think. Using some subtractive method to erase. Generally though, it's just about you finding space to get some black on there. You'll see me adding a lot of water. I'm improving the flow so that it comes off the brush a little bit better. Heavy body paint doesn't really want to flow. Sometimes I hold my breath.
I think we're all holding our breath.
Catch a little eyelash there. The outer lash I like to put longer and then I'll shorten them as they come in. Add a little bit more pupil. There we go. Now she kind of looks like herself, doesn't she? I can get a little bit of white. And come in and get a little reflection. That definitely adds a lot of life to the figure. And I can also take my number 2 Filbert and a little bit of my quinacridone. And I'm going to use some glazing medium to pull this off. Or zinc. I plug my glazing mediums up all the time, which is really just about, I have some bad studio practices of not getting caps on quickly and cleaning out things as often as I maybe need to. So I'm going to make sure I get some of my glazing medium in there and maybe even a little zinc, but still some glazing medium. Wipe your brush out because you don't want extra pigment that you weren't counting on. Let's see if we can give her a little bit more color. Maybe even across here. We're just adding a little bit of color. Just to the space. I just felt like she looked, she didn't have enough of a blush. Kind of hard to get in sometimes. Removing some of this up off the nose, but not completely. And I'm going to come back with a little bit of the zinc. Making sure I've got a highlight here, but a subtle one.
It is very subtle.
It's a subtle highlight, but it makes a difference. It's a strong shadow. I got to think these things out. Now I have a bunch of these little beads that I'm going to put out. I'm actually going to use my dotting tool. But first, I'll go ahead and get a little bit of my brown and my black together. Glazing medium if I need. I'm just going to try to improve flow a bit. Now I had mentioned that I might do these like with gold. You could do them shaded however you wanted. But I just want to make sure that I'm starting to apply that texture of this just copious shell necklace. Because I personally feel like if you were a society that, you know, or mystical being that lived under the sea, probably shell jewelry would be like your preference. I feel this strongly. Hopefully John feels that strongly too. I don't know. Just happy to be putting in the necklace because you know the hair is going to go in really fast.
Well, I like the necklace here. It's coming together nice. Those dots.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually really liking the new cameras for how close we can get on the eye work and things.
I think it's going to make the rest of the quest, which is going to be an interesting journey for everybody. Don't feel bad if you're finishing it up into next year, by any means, because it's going to take us a minute to get the new Big Art Quest booted up next year. We are going to be doing some big stuff in 2019. I'm taking everything you guys have taught me because you guys teach me a lot. You guys really, really teach me about being a teacher, what students need to know, what they don't need to know, what stumbles up you guys, you know, that maybe isn't necessarily a problem for me in my day-to-day, but I need to be aware of can be a problem for you. And all of that knowledge, all that experience from all these years and all the videos and all these students, I'm putting it into what I hope is the most awesome ever quest.
Most awesome.
Most awesome. Most awesome. But it's going to take us a minute to get it booted up next year. So you've got a second to finish up these fairytale quests. Well, it is. A little bit. I'm going to get a little of my yellow and my black. And I'm going to make sure that I highlight some of that. Again, I'm just talking about maybe a titanium white. Need a little more tinting strength. We still want the dark values here. And again, I'm going to, for sure, a little more yellow. Put a little gold dab on it. I got to tell you, though, I love this Chroma Shine stuff. The only reason I'm not like just throwing Chroma Shine at you guys at this red hot second is I got to figure out how y'all can get it if you wanted it. Because I went on there and I was like, there's like 2 places. So that's how new that product was that we introed. All right. So you can see it's just getting that little texture out. Talking about that space a bit. You know, and realizing that you can talk about that space, and that's, I mean, I don't know who would stop you. Who'd be like, no, it's not allowed. Okay, well, that's having it dry so we can dot it. We can start actually doing some hair, which I'm going to get my knife. Let me pull some of my yellow ochre here and maybe some of my Indian yellow. Glazing me. Don't dry on me.
Is it dry?
It wants to dry. I'm grabbing more Indian yellow. So I'm just mixing up the yellow ochre, Indian yellow, smidge of my burnt. I'm trying to make this really epic hair color. See how it goes. Wish me luck. Don't wish me luck. I'm an art teacher. I probably shouldn't need luck. That would be terrible.
I don't think you need luck. I think you're pretty good at this.
Yeah, I think so. It's just been that hard of a journey. I'm adding a little black. I'm going to continue to talk about these values that I've got in here. These are the deep values. I'll come in and hit some light values. In a second, I just want to keep reinforcing these around the hairline. Just, nope, don't like that tool for that. See, it's just really awkward right there. So I'm going to move this back. Don't like that. And I will get a smaller tool that's going to do this for me a little bit easier. I'm going to dip it in water. Come here and more meticulously work out my hairline. You definitely want to show that there's a hairline, but it needs to be believable as one as well. So I got real inspired by my own short hair. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes what's happening in your life will start to appear in places on your paintings. That's actually a good thing sometimes.
I think also what
I'm
I'm
gonna get my
realizing is that
fluid white.
you don't
I
sorry.
don't.
You
Many things. What do I not do?
so if you look over at the reference screen right now,
Mm.
you can see just how close we are able to get up here.
That's so
So
fantastic. So you can see what I'm doing.
Yeah, you really can. And so that's part of the reason why I'm so quiet is that I'm just sort of lost in that a little.
You're like, I'm loving this. I'm mixing a very light color. I may even get some more yellow into this very, very light color. I've got my fluid white. This is going to help me get some of these fine detail bits. We're going to come here and I'm going to make sure that the hair is a little bit kind of halo lit, as hair tends to be at the beach or in these sort of sunny locations. And again, she doesn't have to have human hair. You know, it can defy, moisture, humidity.
It could be beautiful, fine, blowing hair in the wind. It's
Can be. Because she's a mystical creature. And that's what makes some of these fairy tale subject matters so much more enjoyable, because we can really explore that space. And I like to really be playful here as much as possible.
yeah.
It could go really crazily wrong. But I'm almost excited to find out. I'm taking this right off the canvas.
Yeah, as I say, you're taking that just right off the edge.
Yeah. Where I wanted it to go. Every once in a while, I'm going to grab more of the base color in here. You know, I can even come in here and make sure that the hairline is a little bit of that reflection. We'll see how that goes. I might mist with my giant mister. I lost my little micro mister. It'll show up.
We have more, I think.
We have more. Yeah, it'll show up. It'll show up.
Right when you least suspect it.
Yeah. Generally, like when I bought the replacement is when it likes to show up. And so I'm just working those little lines in. It's cute. I feel like I need to paint some more seals. Think about that more.
Yay, seals.
Get that out there. So it's very yellow right now, and we're doing this so that we're kind of working this backwards so that we can show that how that hair is lit and space. But already she's an interesting creature. I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this. I'll mix the next kind of like dark value in there. We can start to create these little values or spaces that shape out hair. Love painting hair.
You do really nice hair.
I don't know if it, thank you. I do really nice hair. I was about to say, I don't know if I do nice hair, but actually I do, and I enjoy it, and it's fun for me. You can see how I'm doing this little stroke. I'm feathering this out. Getting some really interesting results from her. I'm thinking I might, at the end of this film, you guys like a message for the Big Art Question Facebook group. Pulling that out there. Yay. All the little sounds of the house.
That's all right.
Oh no, I don't mind. At this point, I'm like, she's coming to an end.
She's done.
I'll tell you what, when I looked at all these paintings, I really thought November was going to be the most challenging.
November.
Yes, and the November quest. And I didn't see her as being, you know, I thought she'd be interesting. I hadn't done a lot of stuff in her color range, and I thought it would be fascinating, but wow.
Surprised.
How hard she was for me? Yeah, it did super surprise me. Getting back into my dark, dark, dark color. Need to grab a little rust. Yeah, it did really, really surprise me how much difficulty I had with some of it. Was not what I expected. Now, that doesn't mean that November will be hard. It could be weird. Like, I might get into November and go, wow, this really came together. And I had no difficulty. Some more of this. I'll get some yellow and white in there and make sure it's nice and flowing. Get a little more of the Indian yellow. I like that. I'm picking little areas and I'm making sure that they're highlighted, and because the hair is a very reflective moving space. It should flow and be a little bit like water. Oh, it's fun to do. You can see me just working that out there. Wow, look at that. That just really came
It's
together, didn't it?
crazy.
I love it.
I like
Totally
we've
fine. Now we've got the dotting. And now we're good.
she's got crazy beach hair.
She's crazy. Well, she's seal. Seal. And apparently this is how I feel about my hair. So I'm putting out my iridescent gold fine deep. And I'm going to grab my little dotting tool that I like so much. And I'm going to come and just
Oh wow.
add the gold dots over this. This is not required in, you can dot this out a different way. This is just what I had always envisioned when I saw her.
Those are super dotted.
Right, was just to create this texture and this look on this particular piece. And also, if you wait a minute, I'm about to do something in the hair.
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to add some of this gold into the hair. Because again, she's mystical, right?
She is mystical.
She's mystical. A lot of fun.
It's crazy awesome.
Yeah. Man, art is one of those wonderful things that you get blessed to be able to have in your life. Whatever you have to do for a living aside, having art in your life creates this magical space where you can tap into some of how you saw the world as a child. And I think what makes us kind of okay as a species. Like sometimes I question human beings as a species. I see what we are in the world and I just think, wow. It's not a good thing, but in art, in music and poetry and writing and maybe even philosophy, the higher maths and sciences, any place where our imagination comes into play, I think we demonstrate what's beautiful about us. Ooh, I like it. I have to look at it
I
real quick.
like it too.
Oh, I do like it. I likes it. It's crazy, but I likes it.
Now, see, when you get really close up on it, I don't know if you can. I don't typically do that for you, but
Mm. Oh, wow. That's so cool.
yeah, you can really see.
This part is coming out exactly how I hoped it to be. So that's super nice. I'm really just thinking about the size of my dots. Oh, I do feel like I need a little of this gold up in her hair.
Oh yeah.
I'll be a little thoughtful about it as I do it. But yeah, I feel like we need a little gold up in her hair. I may turn the thing here,
May? You
or
did.
I absolutely will turn the thing just to make sure that I am comfortable in what I'm doing.
That's good. You should.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you're moving the canvas, not your body, when you're trying to get certain angles, because the temptation, you'll get so drilled into what you're doing, you will move your body, not your canvas, and find yourself not feeling as comfortable as you would like, and maybe even sore the next day. Or
Mm-hmm. You do that quite a bit.
yeah, like if when that I'm sore or that I move the canvas.
That you're in. You find yourself in a position you didn't intend to be in.
Yeah, and then I pay for it the next day.
The next day, yeah, you're sore.
Just making sure that this has nice line to it so that it's beautiful even as we see it different directions. A word on metallic paint. I really feel like Golden and Holbein are the only two companies I've personally found that make a metallic paint that's worth my money. That's so my point of saying that is not to force you to go out and buy either one of those paint brands, but it's to encourage you to test any of your metallics if you buy them. And even if you buy Golden or Holbein, test them and make sure that they're giving you the look or effect that you're hoping for. Because they can be really underperforming as a type of paint.
Yeah, that's good.
It's better not to add it than to put it on if it's not going to give you the full effect sometimes. Well, I think she's just becoming much more of a magical creature.
I agree. That's some pretty magical stuff you're putting on there.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. I am tempted. Yes, that is what I was looking for. There we go. Oh my god, we finished. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Now you get a signer.
I do. Guess what color I'm going to sign her in?
Gold?
Yeah, I'm going to try. It can be hard to sign in.
Let me see what you got.
But I think in this particular case, I may. Let me put my glasses back on. I don't know why I thought I could sign this painting without my glasses. By the way, now I love her.
Yeah, I think this has turned out really, really good. Definitely worth the wait.
Painting I'm thrilled to have done. Oh, it's really showing. That's lovely. So metallic paints can get really transparent. It's really hard for paint companies to get them pigmented enough. And then if they do, they can do this thing called patina or oxidize, which means like whatever color, whatever it was when it put on your canvas will change in a year or two. This does not.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Not that any of my paintings need to last that long.
I think there was a crab who said it best. It's shiny.
Oh my gosh, I love that crab. That is like the jam. Wanna be shiny. She's friends with that crab.
They hang out.
They do. They do, and they dress up. And he wants to steal her necklace. Moana
I
facts.
can totally see that.
Sometimes when I'm signing my name, like, I forget like what I'm writing.
You're like,
I'm just,
da, 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 what
I
am I
do.
writing here?
I just get so like da da da.
You're in the middle of writing Sherpa and you finish writing fairy or something.
It could happen, but actually that's a pretty good signature too.
It is turned out really good. It has that signature has lots of personality. Ooh,
Personality.
there's the word.
Personality.
Personality.
Okay, so my lesson from this is it can be hard, it can be challenging. Don't give up. If you come out the other side of it, you will be better than you went in. I know you guys face this all the time with some of my 3-hoop paintings, some of these quests, they just feel really overwhelming. Any of us can get into a painting and feel overwhelmed. It's the process of working it out and going through all those uncomfortable emotional spaces it makes emotional muscles stronger and helps us be more resilient to the challenges that are in front of us. Be really good to yourself. You deserve it. You guys have been amazing. You are a gift of a community. Be good to each other. We can literally make the world a better place just by being kinder. I want to see you guys at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.